And welcome to the USA Pavilion at the ePlan Global Virtual Fair 2020. My name is Özlem Biber, and I'm an account manager celebrating my 19th year at ePlan, based out of our US headquarters in Schaumburg, Illinois. I will be the co-host of this hour's webinar, along with my colleagues Ian Underhill and Derek Santamaria. Ian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, certainly, Özlem. So I'm Ian Underhill. I'm an applications engineer out of the Detroit office. I've been with ePlan 3 years after a long career as a controls engineer and controls manager, mainly in the automotive industry.
Thank you, Ian. And Derek will say a few words about himself and demonstrate our flagship product, ePlan Electric P8, for us in just a little bit later. In the next 45 minutes, you're going to get an introduction to how digitalizing electrical controls hardware systems can significantly improve your design efficiency, documentation quality, and data reutilization throughout the entire project development process. If you have any questions or comments during the session, please send them in via the chat window, and Ian will either respond to them directly in the same way or will answer them at the end. Now I'd like to briefly talk about the who, why, and what of ePlan. ePlan was founded in 1984 as the world's first electrical design system and continues to remain at the top of its domain, spanning over 50 countries and 173,000 installations and counting. ePlan customers typically see around a 40 to 50% reduction in design times compared with traditionally manual-intensive, error-prone, and time-consuming CAD-based drafting packages. One of the fundamental characteristics of ePlan is that it is truly database-driven. In other words, it is not a collection of lists and scripts running on top of a CAD engine, which can be associated with performance issues and limitations. If you're like me, you've experienced the dangers of copying and pasting content from one source to another. And if you didn't remember to make the necessary updates, your new work unfortunately ended up being flawed. So worse than that, what if when we copy a source content that has errors? Now those errors live on and on and on, resulting in costly consequences. The later we discover them, the more expensive they will get. The solution is standardization, which is an integral part of efficient engineering. ePlan supports standardization with tried and verified libraries and templates. This way, all team members work with the same master data and thereby avoid reinventing the wheel and making mistakes. Last but not least, we're not just a software company. We also support our customers every step of the way with an array of services such as technical support, training, implementation, third-party software integration, and custom-developed solutions to ensure a successful implementation and quicker ROI. Although we're better known by our electrical design software, this graphic represents where we fit in the entire development process. The red boxes are the discipline-specific solutions we offer, and the gray boxes are the third-party systems, such as mechanical engineering, PLC programming software, ERP, PLM, PDM, enterprise systems, and that we can interface with in upstream or downstream processes. So what that means is, depending on a customer's individual requirements, an ePlan solution can be scaled to include a single discipline, be it process engineering, fluid engineering like hydraulics or pneumatics, electrical designs, 3D enclosure layouts, or harness designs, or it could be multiple disciplines to have all information about a project contained in one seamlessly integrated file, which can then be uploaded to the cloud for viewing by the invited stakeholders. The focus of our webinar today will be this product here, ePlan Electric P8, which is again our flagship software for electrical design engineering. So without further ado, I will now turn it over to Derek, and he'll show us how ePlan Electric P8 works.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you all for taking the time to attend this live demonstration of Electric P8. In the next few minutes, I will show you how you can digitalize your control system and how it can help you save time during the design process and also produce high quality documentation using our software. First off, let me introduce myself. My name is Derek Santamaria. I am an application engineer here at ePlan. I've been working for ePlan for about 2 years now. My role is mainly to conduct trainings in P8 and also ProPanel, and also conduct consulting services and technical support. So if you're not familiar with ePlan, this is the user interface. So as soon as you open ePlan, this is what you see. Electric P8, it has a very user-friendly interface. It has the same functionality, just like Windows. And what I mean by that, it has the same cut, copy, paste features, so including the shortcut keys, right? It also has the same snapping technology. So if you want to move your navigators, such as this one, you can just drag them and drag it over to another screen as well if you'd like to. So it's very user friendly. It is like what Özlem said, it is database driven software. So the entire project is set up as a whole in its core, meaning all the devices are connected together, right? What I have right here on the very left, this is my page navigator. And I have here an open project, right? So this is going to be the project I'm going to be working on for the next few minutes. As you can see, it has predefined pages. So whenever you open a project, you can select a template. And within that template consists of many reports that you want to include, right? So this particular project, it's already got a title page, right? Now, the beauty of having a database-driven software is that there's always going to be only one single point of entry. And what I mean by that is, for example, if you take a look at this title page, you see how there's a property here called company name. So if I want to change this, I can just go to my project properties. And this will open up this dialog. Now, as you can see here, there's a property called company name. If I were to change this, let's say, for example, let's say ePlan, right? Once I hit OK, not only the property change here on my main page, but it also going to change underneath here under my plot frame. So if I take a look at the other pages that I have in my project, it's also there as well, right? So again, if I want to change another property here, let's say I want to change the address, right? Company address. So I would have to just go back to that project properties. And from here, I can change it to, for example, Main Street, 123 Main Street. And once I hit OK, now the customer's address is also there showing up. And that's globally, right? It's all over your project. So you don't need to manually change it for every page. Okay. Now let's take a look at what's in this project. So with ePlan Electric P8, you are able to create an overview of your project. So for example, this is a grinding machine, right? So you can have you can kind of pre-plan where your grinding machine will be, right? So you have the first location, second location, and the third one where the grinding actually happens, and then where the last portion is where you distribute your grinding products. So you can do that. Also, you can set up a network topology, just like what you're seeing right now, right? And you can also create a single line schematic. So if you know how your plant is going to look like, you can set them up as a single line overview first. And the beauty of having this single line is that you can represent the same object from this page. So if you click on that cross reference, it takes you to the multi-line representation, right? So you avoid mistakes by having to copy paste, right? You can represent the same switch once and then distribute it throughout your project. Okay, so now you can also do a cable topology, right? Now let's talk about the design process in ePlan. So as an engineer or a user, you can start from any data that you already have. So like I said, right now I have here a bunch of multi-line schematic pages, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new one under my multi-line schematic, right click new. And as you can see, ePlan automatically suggested a new page number. So for me, it's page 56. The reason that is because there is no page 56, right? So that's the next available page. So that's perfect. Now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a description under this page. And then once I hit OK, now I've got an empty schematic page, just like what I expected. Okay, so there's 3 ways of designing in ePlan. The first thing is inserting symbols. In order to insert symbols, you go to Insert, Symbol, and as you can see, we have here a bunch of symbol libraries. We support NFPA, IEC standards, and also GOST. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using NFPA. This is going to be in inches also. So what I'm going to try to do is place this motor, right? You see how my symbol library is organized by electrical engineering, and you have your power consumers motor. So it's organized, right? So as a user, you won't, 9 times out of 10, you will find the symbol that you need. So this is the one I want. Every symbol in ePlan, it's got at least 4 variations. Some of them can have 8. So for me, I want to use this variant F. Now I'm going to place it somewhere here on my second ladder, right? Now, if you take a look at this area here, there's a device tag already associated with this motor, MTR5641. Where that's coming from, first of all, if you take a look at the number 5641, that actually matches where the motor is placed. So this is the row number 5641, right? See it better. Let me zoom in, right? And then the identifier MTR So that actually came from the project setting. Just like what I mentioned to you, we support NFPA and IEC. Since I have NFPA selected, the suggested device tag for NFPA under motors is MTR, and you can find them here, right here. Okay. Now, that's how you insert symbols in ePlan. And when I say symbols, I don't mean just a drawing, right? So this motor, it comes with a function template, meaning it's got some logic behind it. So if I take a look at the logic, this particular motor, it's got 4 connection points, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And it's got potential. The fourth connection point is PE, which is my ground, right? So I'm not placing graphics here. I'm placing actual logic devices. Okay. Now, we also have the capability of adding a part number to this symbol. With the use of device selection, I can select from a list up here. This is my filtered parts database. So what you're seeing right now are 2 part numbers. And when I say filtered, I mean to say ePlan already did the work for you. So whatever it's in your parts database, whatever matches with what you require, it's going to show up here, right? So I only have 2 since I have a small database. If I want to select it, all I need to do is select it down here. Now, once I hit OK, not only the part number is adapted, but also the parts data, right? Now I have a technical characteristic of 1.5 kilowatts, as opposed to a blank symbol motor. Okay, so that's something you can do, right? Placing it by symbols. Now, let's take a look at the next step, which is placing devices. So when I select this, I get to see my parts database, right? And if I want to insert anything, I can select from whatever part that I have in my parts database. But what I wanted to do here is utilize one of my navigators called Parts Master Data Navigator. In this way, I can filter out my parts database, and basically all I need to do is drag it over. So let's say I want this circuit breaker, right? What I can do is I can drag it, drop it over to my schematic page, and then place. Okay, so it's that easy. Now, you may notice it created these connections, right? And these are not just ordinary lines. These are actual connections that tells you, okay, there's a connection coming from connection point 4 from the motor overload to the motor, V1 connection point, right? So this saves you time, especially later on when you generate your reports. Okay. Now, this is the perfect time to kind of introduce you to our data portal, right? Like I said, you can build your parts database using our data portal. The data portal is now part of our cloud-based solutions called ePulse. And when you click on data portal, this is what you see. This is the main page where you can paste. So I copied the part number of the motor overload. And then once I place it here, I can search for it. Now, there it is. This is the image. This is the 3D representation. And this is also the 2D graphical representation. You can download this information, this data. We have about 1 million, almost a million parts in the data portal from 300 manufacturers. So if you want to import them, all you need to do is click import here. So that's a quick overview of the data portal and where my parts are coming from. Okay, now that's placing devices. Now let's talk about inserting the third way, which is inserting macros. So if you want to insert what we call macros, you can go to Insert, Macro, and I want to place this one. So macros, they are predefined circuits that you can recycle. So if you have another project, you can have the same circuits and use it over and over again. So this one in particular, it's just a power rail, right? Let me zoom in a little bit here. Now, if I press Tab on my keyboard, it navigates me through the two different variants of this macro, right? I want the two ladder macro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press X and Y on my keyboard, and it takes me to where I should place my macro. So the original X and Y coordinates of where the macro was created from, right? So X, Y, there you go. As soon as I place it, it created these texts, these green texts here. And these are what we call cross-references in ePlan. Cross-references, they make your life easier as a designer because if you hold down the control key and click on it, it takes you to the counter piece of that particular object. So for this one, it's the 1L1 power line, right? So it's telling me that, okay, it's going to show up on another page. So all I need to do is click on that cross-reference and it takes me back to my motors page here, right? So I can do the same thing for this one, right? And for the other ones. Okay, so now I'm just going to continue on placing macros so you can see how easy it is to place predefined circuits like this one, the face drop, right? All I have to do is press X, Y. I can number them based on NFPA scheme. And once I hit OK, I don't have to manually change the device tags for each one, right? Because ePlan can do that for me. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do this one, X, Y again. And then last but not least, I need so I place my cabinet fan. Now I need my transformer, right? X, Y again. There it is, right? So in a matter of a few minutes, I was able to create my schematic, right? So let's continue on with this part here. So this is my motor. I have here a contact or a coil. So if I want to place this on here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place it first here. I'm gonna use one of my PLC spare output here. So I'm gonna open it in a new window. So this is my PLC card. And as you can see, I have a spare one. So what I can do is from my parts master data navigator, I can use one of these spare outputs, place them here, and complete the circuit by adding my connection angles, just like so. Now I have a coil that I can use. And as you can see, it's telling me that it has a bunch of contacts or power contacts that I can place here to control my motor. Now, there's a navigator called Device Navigator. The Device Navigator shows you all of the devices that are in your project, right? Depending on the project, it can be overwhelming, right? I have a bunch of symbols here and devices. However, ePlan makes it a lot easier for the user to design because they added this feature called synchronized selection. So I highlighted my coil, and if I select the synchronized selection, ePlan helps me out and highlights the same coil in my device navigator. Now, it's going to be a lot easier for me to place it because I know that I have 3 available normally open contacts that I can place along this line here. So all I need to do is highlight them, click, drag, and click, drag again to place it all at the same time. Right? Now, you see the cross references again. You can, again, jump back and forth between the coil and also the contacts. Very seamless design process. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to finish up my page here. So I'm going to add a daisy chain along these lines. I'm doing this so that later on, when I create my connection list, I have an accurate connection list coming from my schematic page. Okay, so that's how you place macros and contacts in schematic. Another technology that they incorporated with macros is the ability to add what we call placeholders. A good example of that would be this macro that I created called motor macro, right? So if I want to place this, let's place it somewhere here. As soon as I place it, I see a dialog to select a value set, right? Placeholders they're essentially just a sets of variables that you can assign different values to. So for this particular macro, I can change the horsepower of the motor. So right now, let's say I change it to 10, or maybe let's do 15. Okay, I can number it. Now, if you take a look at my motor, it's got a horsepower of 15 and the fuse is 30 amps. Now, like I said, you can always change it, right? This is the beauty of having placeholders. You can always change it anytime. As long as you see this placeholder object, you can assign a new value set. Let's say I change it to 50, right? So a little bit bigger motor. Now, once I hit OK, not only it changed the wire gauge that I need to use, but it also changed the horsepower of the motor and the fuse. Now I went from 50 amps to 100 amps, right? Now, if I want to duplicate this motor, all I need to do is right click, duplicate, and bring it down. It's gonna ask me how many of these macros do I need, so I'm just gonna say 3. right? I can change one to be 50, the other one to be 75, and then the other one would be, let's say, 10. Now, in just a matter of a few clicks, I was able to create 4 different types of macros with 4 different properties, right? So I was able to quickly expand my design with connections and updated the devices and parts automatically, right? Now, let's say I finished up my page. What I can do now is select all my object and add a numbering scheme. So in ePlan, you can have your own, like let's say your own company wiring scheme. But for now, I want to use my predefined scheme called NFPA standard. And what this does is it's going to place these question marks first. And if I'm happy with my wiring scheme, I can go back to project data, connections, and enter the designation. Now, I hit OK. It's going to give me this recommended connection designations. If I'm happy with it, all I need to do is hit OK. Now I have my wiring scheme. Right? I don't have to manually place them myself. Okay, now let's take it to the next level. Right? This is going to be a quick preview of ProPanel. And the reason why I'm going to show this is because I want you to see how digitalizing your control system can actually save you a lot of time. Not only for you as a designer, but also the guys on the shop floor. So if I want to take a look at my mounting panel here, so I have an enclosure for this main control panel. And I insert. Now I'm looking at my mounting panel, right? I have here my devices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place the same devices that I place here, the motor overload and the motor, and place it here under this area. So it's very easy to do that in ePlan because, like I said, you're working on a database. Everything you do is tracked, and anything that you put into your project can be easily tracked. So if I open up my 3D mounting layout navigator here, I can synchronize this motor overload, synchronize selection. Now you see ePlan highlighted where it tells me where that motor overload is. Okay, now it's just a matter of dragging it over to this panel. So there's my circuit breaker. Now let's also add the coil. This one right here. I'm going to synchronize it. There it is. Found it. Now, since they're connected, ePlan Pro Panel can route your connections for you based on the shortest route. So you have here a connection, right? And you can see it gives me the length of the connection. Now, if I go back to, so remember this, it's 9.173 inches. Now, if I go back to my page here, and then if I hit the U key, it tells me the same length of the connection coming from the motor overload to the coil, the contacts of the coil, right? 9.173 inches. So that will help your guys on the shop floor because they don't have to create, they don't have to guess how long the wire should be. Everything is already there. So So that's a quick overview of ProPanel. Now that we've finished up building our project here, let's go ahead and harvest all the work that we've done. And we can do so by generating our reports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my project first. Under Utilities, Reports, Generate. I have here under the Templates tab, we have here a bunch of predefined templates that came with the project. So these are predefined, but if you want a different project, a report type, we have here a list of report types that we have. So if you purchase ePlan, it comes with all of these report types. Okay, so but for now, what I want to do is generate them all. And what's happening now, ePlan is generating my reports for me. Okay, literally with a click of a button. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to manually type anything. Now I get all my reports. As you can see, it added 4 mounting locations here. So let's take a look at the bill of materials first. Now, this is my summarized parts list, right? I have a few pages because it's a fairly big project, right? And by the way, this form that you're seeing right now, you can customize it. So if you don't like what you're seeing here, you can add another column and add another one. It's up to you, right? Whatever helps you and whatever helps the guys that are building this enclosure. So that's my summarized parts list. By the way, you can also add QR codes on here, right? So you can add QR codes for the data sheet, or you can even add QR codes for the enclosures. That way, when you're doing maintenance work, all you need to do is scan that, and then you know exactly where to find that particular component. Okay, I also have here a cable reports. So let's take a look at it. So this one, this one is my cable diagram. It tells me where the source is coming from, right? So for every cable, it tells me the source, the target, how long it is, the ferrule, so the stripping, and then the target as well. Now, there's also different type of report here called the terminal diagram. I can take a look at the whole strip overview. So this particular project, it's got multiple terminal strips. And then if you take a look at this report, you can look at all your strips. So this one, TB1, and it's in my main control panel. It tells me everything that I need, right? Target, source, also the function text, and then the wiring scheme. Remember, we added all this earlier. Now, that's perfect, right? You can also do a terminal connection diagram. So where your terminal is going to in terms of the PLC connection points, right? Then last but not least, you have here a connection list. This is a really great form because everything you need is here, right? The cross section of the wire, for example, tells you the color of the wires, and it also tells you what kind of end of the ferrules, right? The strippings, and it tells you where you should be wiring this particular connection point, right? So there is no limit to kind of reports that you can use. Like I said, you can customize it to whatever you want, right? And if you do want to share your project, you can share them as a PDF under Page, Export, PDF. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it in my desktop so I can find it easier. Okay, once I hit OK, ePlan will create the PDF in the background. Depending on the project, will determine the speed of this export. So this is the old way of doing things, right? Manually creating PDF documents. Later on after this, I'm going to quickly show you how you can use eView. And with eView, you can manually upload your project and create your red lines. And the beauty of doing it through eView is that you can instantaneously see the red lines, because all you need is a browser, right? You can use your phone, you can use your iPad, laptop, anything, and you can see the project from anywhere in the world. Okay, so I have here my PDF. I'm just going to open it up. As you can see, the beauty of having this PDF is it's not just a regular PDF. It has the same structure as what you see in ePlan, right? And if I take a look at my page here, so this is the motors page that we were dealing with. The cross references, they actually work as well. And it gives you that little animation, that jump animation, right? So I can go back and forth between my coil and my contacts, just like so, right? And you can do red lines here as well. So let's say, for example, I want to change this. All I need to do, I can draw anything. Oops, rectangle. I can draw a rectangle here. I can insert a text. Please change coil, something like that, right? Now, once I'm done redlining, I have to close it, save it, and back to ePlan, I can go ahead and import those comments. So first of all, let me open up my comments navigator and import my PDF comments. I'm going to select the PDF that I just showed you. Now it tells me, okay, I found 2 comments. Let's take a look at it. Under my main control panel, under this page, I can go to graphic and it jumps right to that comment. Right. Once you finish your modifications, you can just delete the comments. So that's how PDF export and PDF comments work in ePlan. Now, like I said, I want to very briefly talk about eView. eView is part of ePulse, and with eView, you can upload your project, right? And you can see the project on a browser. So actually, I'd have to go from the browser. So this is the browser version. I'm just logging into my organization. So you can invite colleagues, you can invite your customers so that they can see your project virtually. So now I'm seeing here my project. I'm just gonna tell you, okay, so I can upload my project here, but I'm not gonna do that. It might take some time. But as you can see, I can upload any of my projects here, right? So this one is similar to the one I just worked on, right? There it is. So same thing. You can redline in anything. And back to ePlan, you can see all those red lines. And at that point, you save time because you get the red lines almost instantaneously. So thank you all for listening. I think that I hope that gives you a good idea on how ePlan Electric P8 works and how it can help you save time and produce high documentations. At this point, I'm gonna hand it over to Ian. Ian?
Difficult is ePlan for schematics to get started using it. He's a current AutoCAD user.
It is not difficult at all, as long as you have an open mind, right? As long as, because the technology is there, right? You just have to embrace it. And I would say it's a lot easier because you're working on a database and anything you insert is tracked. And with the use of the navigators, you can find your devices easily. So I would say it's a lot easier compared to AutoCAD.
Yeah, I as an experienced AutoCAD user in the past, it can look a little daunting, but once you get the concept, it is comparatively easy. It's a we would certainly recommend that you take training. It's certainly the fastest way to get up to speed and not to get into bad habits, which is easy to do with any piece of software if you're trying to work it out for yourself. We've got training classes available in a virtual environment, and we can even actually supply a license, so a virtual machine basically, so that you don't need to interfere with your work system while you take the training. But certainly, as Derek said, it's not that difficult to learn. As you've got to have an open mind because it's a different system. It's a different style than drawing lines and circles on a paper. You're adding entries into a database, which is once you get that concept, then it becomes a little easier.
So one of the questions that came in is asking, is the 3D panel design tool, how does the wire connection land in the right location on the component?
What the heck is that?
So this is based on the connection logic that's attached to the device itself, right? So the data that we receive from the data portal, it comes with a connection point designation. As soon as you define that in your 2D schematic, it translates to the 3D side, and that's how the right location is determined. What is the other question, Jess?
The next question asks, can custom reports be created from ePlan? We have special requirements from a specific customer.
Absolutely, yes. ePlan is very flexible. We have a predefined report types. What we recommend from our customers is basically duplicate that and customize it based on the requirements that they need. That way, they don't need to start from scratch. They can add data as they go.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see, we have another question. Can ePlan generate wire and terminal cable labels? If so, can it interface with Phoenix contact labels?
Yes, yes. We work with third-party companies where, like for example, the Rital wire terminal machine. So once you're done with your project, you can generate the wiring scheme based on your standards, and from there you can export it, and that file you can send it over to whoever does your wiring stripping, or if you have a dedicated company that does that for you, all you need to do is send that file and the machine will do the rest.
Perfect, thank you. And we have one more question, it looks like. Can ePlan switch between NFPA and IEC schematic formats?
Yes, yes. We have a feature, a built-in feature called change of standard. From there, you can change either from NFPA to IEC or IEC to NFPA. Absolutely.
Great, thank you. I think that's all the questions we have for right now.
Okay, thank you very much. So if you would like to discuss your current engineering process, challenges and goals, and explore how we might be able to support your business, please reach out to your account manager or visit, call, or email us, and we'll be happy to assist you. Thank you again for spending some time with us this afternoon, and enjoy the rest of your day.